angel.
There's a strange sentimental value that is discovered when one thinks of the 1950s. Nostalgia of times from long ago, where photos were taken and smiles were made. It is those type of memories that people today live for, and strive for. Following the worst conflict known to man, America emerged with the most powerful economy in the globe, under the leadership of President Dwight D. Eisenhower. A booming time of good times and a new culture was formed. With the war over and the soldiers coming home to form families, it seemed as if the only real threat to the globe was nuclear annihilation. America entered atomic anxiety, and the once fearful universal monsters on the big screens were pushed aside for the television and broadcasts about the Soviet Union and those damn dirty communists. You know what's fearful? The threat of a Soviet invasion on the mainland United States, no matter how unlikely it may have seemed to be at the time. Invasion from some other threat seemed to be the rage. The 1950s saw the introduction of the creature from the Black Lagoon to outer reaches of space. The first major creature film of the decade was The Thing from Another World in 1951, and let me just say that this thing must have been absolutely terrifying back then, because I personally think this film looks ahead of its time. I mean, look at this thing burn! The movie is about a group investigating the crash site of a flying saucer and a body in the shivering Arctic. Also in the same year, Americans received the film The Day the Earth Stood Still. Basically, it's about a UFO landing in DC and wreaking havoc across the land. There's this giant robot named Gort that shoots beams, and that's cool, because beams are cool. The Atomic Age brought forth a film titled The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, in which an atomic bomb was tested in the Arctic to unearth a dinosaur. I mean, a monster being unearthed by an atomic test? This can somehow be used as some type of symbolism of a disaster for another film, and luckily for us, that exact film came just 16 months later. In August of 1945, an atomic weapon was used on Hiroshima, Japan. Power the likes of which never seen before was displayed in order to try and end the war in a quick manner. Gojira, or Godzilla in the Americas, was created after an atomic weapon was used. Godzilla is the symbolism of destruction that comes with atomic weapons, and I'd even go far to say that he's the symbol of what monsters were in the 1950s. And of course he's also the king of all monsters, so that's a pretty neat title. Unlike other films of the decade, Godzilla isn't a B-movie. It's something so serious that it looks extremely odd compared to other Godzilla films. The B-movies of the decade were just a way for Hollywood to get a quick buck of the silly 1950s teenagers. These films usually had some really silly monsters. Like, what the hell is this? And what the hell is this? Also in 1954, The Creature from the Black Lagoon came out. Everybody knows about the Gillman and whatnot, but I had no idea the film was shot in 3D. Some would go far to say that the Gillman is the last of the Universal monsters presented. On the other side of what the spectrum on what the 50s had to offer, you had this film titled Plan 9 from Outer Space, and oof. Ed Wood crafted this alien masterpiece with $60,000. The movie is poorly synced, poorly acted, and is of course so bad it's good. It's just, oh my god, thank you God. There's one more film I want to bring up as I close the 1950s and this year's history of horror, and that's a film that truly represents the decade.
Dave! Doc Hallen's been killed.
Doc Hallen? What happened?
It's over at his place. You gotta come now.
Oh, wait a minute, Steve. Tell us what happened.
Well, I'm trying to tell you. Now, this thing had killed the doc.
Well, what was it?
It's kind of like a mass that keeps getting bigger and bigger.
The Blob is jamming with its theme song and its plot. So there's this group of teenagers that notice a meteor crashing, and out of it comes a blob. The teenagers tell the cops, and the cops shoo them away, and there's your plot. That's it. That's all you need to know. Blob goes around killing people. It's silly, but it's fun. It's stupid, but so are so many teenagers who went to go watch it in the late 1950s. I guess that's really what the 1950s was. With the threat of possible political turmoil leading to a nuclear war in the background, being a teenager and doing lots of dumb things with friends, including watching stupid movies, was hip. I want you all to know that I'm not done, and there's a lot more to talk about next October. But for now, the history of horror is on hold until the night of the jack-o'-lanterns comes nearing again. I've been Larry Zeepsterd, and happy Halloween.